Hello, and welcome to the Creatively Geeky Show. I'm your host for the evening, Eugene Stevens. I'm joined by Chris and Ray as normal. How are y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Hanging in there. I almost went with my standard reply when I'm at work. People ask me, "How are you?" I'm like, "I'm here," and they can take it for however they want.
Yep, that's mine. And then the other one is, well, today's a good day because I woke up breathing.
There you go. Yeah.
So,
Dude!
Yeah. So, but it's funny because it's actually a really good way to measure someone else's energy or like how their positivity is. Because if they're having a crap day as well, they're like, "I hear you, man." And then if they're having an energetic day, they're like, "Awesome, glad you're here." Like,
yep.
it literally just kind of like lobs the ball back into their court and be like, "You do out with it when you want." I'm just telling you right now, I'm here.
Yep.
That's all I had to do today. So.
Yep.
But all right, well, this month we are doing our catch up episode essentially, where we talk about the media that we've been intaking, the creativity we've been intaking, instead of necessarily producing out into the world. So we'll start with what we're watching. Would anyone like to go first?
Oh, me? All right.
Sure. What have you been watching, Chris?
So, outside of my regular rotation of The Office, I've been watching. I binge watched this show called Outlast on Netflix, which is a survivalist competition, kind of like Survivor on crack. And
it's set in Alaska.
But did you watch it? Did it? I did. I just talked about it the entire week I watched it. So,
so you basically watched it too.
I'm pretty sure I watched it.
Yeah.
The whole premise is that there's 16 survivalists put in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness in the fall during bear season with minimal supplies. They have to break up into teams and have to survive for an extended period of time with nature and what they've been given. And every once in a while, like a challenge will drop, and they have to get crab pots or fish for salmon or whatever. And they have, in order to win, they have to finish as a team. Doesn't matter if it's the original team or if there's only two of them left, whatever. And the prize is $1 million. And holy crap. I have never hated two women I know nothing about more than two women on the show. I'm like, I don't want to watch this. This is how much I hate them. I do not want to watch this. 3 people quit the show because of their antics. I'm like, wow. I want a woman to win because it would prove her fucking tough as nails. And then, no, I'm like, I don't want to watch this. They're terrible, terrible people. This sucks.
Like, what were they doing?
So they broke up into 4 teams. It's Alpha Bravo on one side of a river and then Charlie Delta on the other side of the river. They're all within about 900 meters of each chunk of territory. Mm-hmm. So after about 2 weeks, all of the people who just didn't want to do it, couldn't take it anymore, had fired their flare gun. Somebody came and picked them up, and off they went. So Team Alpha, there was 3 of them left, had the woman of the team, she decided that they're like, well, now we're all just going to hunker down until this is over, and we got to stir some shit up because this is going to lag on. She had talked her team into going across the river, one of them, stealing another team's sleeping bags. This is the Alaskan wilderness. It's like October. Mm-hmm. There's bears. They have nothing. So let's steal their sleeping bags and force them to quit.
Oh, wow.
So that's what they did. So the one remaining guy on the team did a whole Mission Impossible thing, got over there, stole these people's sleeping bags. There was only 2 people left on the team, and then went back across the river and then there was this whole thing, and they thought they were so slick and whatever, and the 2 people had to quit because they just were like, this is not what we signed up for. Mm-hmm. Signed up for a survivalist game, and you have cheated.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Not the bullshit you're playing.
Yeah. Did it again to another member of another team where they raided his camp, and all this kind of stuff. And he tried to raid his campus. He was trying to make negotiations across the river for another team. And he's like, fuck it, I can't do this. I'm out. So he burned his camp. And then they had the audacity to be mad at him for it and call him a psychopath.
I would have burned it too.
So I was
right?
very angry. Oh, I would have burned that sucker to the ground and
Burned theirs down too. Been like, peace.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just really sad that anyway, two people who were very unaware of their behavior during the whole game. And my takeaway from it was like, I hope they watch this and realize just how cruel they actually were. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't, that they missed the whole point of the game. And they didn't even win. That was the thing at the end of it. They didn't even win. They were the last team remaining. Their guy had left. It was just the two women. They didn't even win. They got beat by another team. So she was like, the universe is telling me we're going to win. This feels right. We're going to do this. And then at the end, she was crushed. She's like, I don't get it. I do not understand how we didn't win. I just don't understand.
That's how.
It's fucking karma.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like it.
So that was awful. And then to juxtapose that, I started watching and then had to immediately stop this show called Sex Life on Netflix. It's awful. It's like a bad romance novel, bad erotic romance novel.
No.
Brought to the screen. I couldn't. I got about 4 episodes in.
Like as bad as worse than 50 Shades.
It was like 50 Shades of Grey up there. Okay. Level of characters.
I had a brain fart at first. And I was like, "You talking about sex education?" I didn't finish that series, but that was hilarious.
That's funny. But no, it's called Sex/Life, and it's just awful. Just awful. It was so terrible. There was a moment in the 3rd episode, about 20 minutes in, it's made the TikTok rounds, where I was just like, "Oh my god, why would they put that?" I had to pause it, rewind it, and make him watch it. Just a Dirk Diggler moment. Just a Dirk Diggler. It was like a full pan. I'm just like,
wow.
Why would you put that in? Why is that necessary?
That is a 3rd leg.
Why?
So they're basically just like, hey, we know this is gonna suck, but here's what we can do to maybe keep people watching.
Maybe but it was like that's the 3rd episode. Anyways, it was just ridiculous. It was bad writing. The characters were crappy. I just kept rolling my eyes and getting angry. So that's what I've been watching.
Lovely. Ray, what have you been watching?
I'm going to talk about 2 things because they are still in the middle of their seasons. I'm enjoying both of them. Mandolorian, season 3.
I have not watched episode 3 yet. I've seen the first 2.
There's 4 episodes.
The 4th one came out today.
Yes. Yeah, we watched
so now I'm technically 2 episodes behind, but yes.
Yeah. So episode 3 is about an hour. Just a heads up. Episode 4 is not.
No, it's like a half an hour.
Yeah. I like where they're going with it, and I'd like to continue to see where they're going to go with it. So
nice.
We'll leave it at that.
I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes. The first one was very splotchy. Just kind of like, oh, hey, we're going to do this and this. And it was just kind of like, you can tell it was like the setup of like, all right, we're going to get caught up with everyone, and we're going to kind of tell you where we're going, and the end. Yeah. And now episode 2, let's actually start doing the thing.
So I have a technical question. When they're warping, which is not the right word. Is that the right word? Anyways, when they do that jump in, everything's just flying by.
Light speed, yeah.
Light speed. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Were those like space creatures? Apparently that was a big deal. I don't know why. What is that? What is that a reference to?
At the end of the cartoon series Rebels, they play a big role in what happened with 2 of the major characters.
Okay.
So the fact that they showed up, everyone who was a Rebels fan like lost their shit.
Yeah, and I saw that, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was lost on me as well because I have not watched Rebels. There are only certain things I can watch, and
no, I understand.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So haven't had time to catch up on that one, so I might go just watch that bit of the episodes when I know what's going on. So anyway, the second part that I am watching is Picard season 3. I am enjoying this season of Picard. I know there's been some controversy of whether people are actually enjoying it or not. I like it. I'm interested, and I know that they're teasing who's joining the cast again for the next episode, which is fun. So
I like Worf.
right? Worf is great to see him back. Spoiler alert, but whatever. If you
I
haven't
don't
watched
care.
it yet,
Yeah,
like,
I've heard so much good stuff about this third season. And what's funny is I know some people who liked the first season, didn't like the second season, are loving the third. I know some people who didn't really care for the first season, thought the second season was okay, loving the third. I've even heard some people say, "Well, I haven't watched any of it yet," and they're like, "You know what? Just gonna skip 1 and 2 and just gonna hit number 3 because number 3 is literally like, hey, why don't we just do why don't we just do TNG again?"
a
So
bit.
Bit,
The
yeah.
only thing is there's something happens to Picard in the first season that won't make sense with some of the stuff, like with some of the conversations.
mhm.
Yeah. Still though, I mean, I get it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's fine.
But yeah, I have not started it, and I'm kind of like, I may have to put this on my to-do list.
Right? You haven't watched any Picard yet.
None of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of it. I haven't watched any Lower Decks. I understand is fantastic all the way through.
Yeah, I know Sean's a big fan of Lower Decks.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I've heard nothing but great stuff about season 3 so far of Picard. So,
Cool. What are you watching, Eugene?
well, I'm gonna limit it to one thing. I've been watching, like I said, a little Mandalorian. Been watching a little bit. I'll just throw this out there since everyone's doing two. I've only watched the first episode of it, but have y'all watched any of Conk on Earth?
I love her. I've watched the series twice.
Oh my God, it is so funny.
She's so
I
good.
love watching her interact with the special,
She's
like the
so funny.
The special, yeah, because you
Danielle.
can tell a lot of them are in on it because they're trying to hold their face, but you can tell some of them are like, seriously? But the
Yeah.
way her delivery is so fantastic because it's just like,
just fucking deadpan. It's great.
oh, it is so good. I've heard nothing but good about it, and I was like, all right, let me give it a shot. And because I mean, like Netflix will autoplay stuff, and it would autoplay, and I'm just like, wait, what did she just say? Like, because she's being very serious, very dry about it. Like it's a real documentary, and just some of the stuff that she throws out there, I'm just like, wait, what? What did you say?
Smart. I love it.
She's involved with the 2022 wrap up and those ones.
The 2020 and the 2020.
Okay.
Yes.
She's in those too for Netflix.
Yeah.
She's so funny. Her name's Diane Morgan. She's a British actress, and she's
Everything.
so funny. I got the kids hooked on it because there's this one clip that's all over TikTok and Instagram,
Oh yeah.
and it's Philomena Conk saying, "What was more culturally significant, the Renaissance or Single Ladies by Beyonce?" And that's how I got Logan to watch it, because it's actually in that show. Because like episode 3, but she just like deadpan, looking at this expert and just asked that. And she's just like,
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have been able to hold a straight face. Like it just no way.
Like I like the expert's reaction to it.
Yeah.
Like his answer is like he actually considers it for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's hilarious is some of these experts are like, okay, well, they're asking me, she's obviously serious. This is obviously a serious question. Maybe I should consider this for half a second before I go, no, absolutely not.
Some of the, especially when they get into philosophy, some of the philosophers are like, it's
a very intriguing question.
Like, I didn't think about it like that.
But no.
No, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I've only got to watch one episode of it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So,
Yeah.
the main thing I was going to bring up is I did finish The Last of Us.
How's that?
I was hesitant to start the show. I've heard nothing really but great stuff about the video game. I'm not a PlayStation owner or player, so I've never got a chance to play the games. I've heard really good things about it. But I was hesitant to play this game or watch the show because I was like, I don't want this to be another Walking Dead and be like 7 or 8 seasons in and be like, okay, this is just continuously horrible. I'm done. I feel bad watching the show. And what's funny was just talking to some of my Ghostbuster friends who had played the game. They're like, no, this is a different thing. Just give it a shot. And was it the 3rd episode with Nick Offerman is what like hooked me, and I was just like, okay, if we get more of this, if we get more of these slice of life, like how people are living within this universe, I'm going to be very happy. And we did get that. And that did make me very happy. Even when we would have the flashbacks to like how they got to the point that they're at, or like how someone got to their point before they kind of meet up. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm happy with where it went. There some of the criticism I've heard is they're like, I love Pedro Pascal, but he's not the right cast for this because he just can't be mean enough. Apparently, Joel in the game is a much tougher guy, and he's like, no, Pedro's just too nice.
He's a little muffin of a man. He's too sweet.
He's so awesome. The thing, and if you're talking about like stuff on TikTok and stuff, I'm loving I don't know what's from the Nick Cage looking over with the weird face and him just that joyous look he has is just hilarious.
They're high on D in that clip. That's why
Yeah.
he's got that look on his face. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just but no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't wait for the second season. Um but yeah, like I mean I know he doesn't die unless they just made a total, right turn from the game, which I think that would really pissed off people. Because that's always been like the biggest thing is like we understand, you have to make some changes between a book and adapting it for a TV or movie or something like that. And the same thing for a game. The problem is when they just completely go off the rails and it's like this has nothing to do with the game. The adaptations that they made in this, most people I've talked to have been like, no, I liked how they changed things. So, good on them. Hopefully they continue on. So
Is it gory? Like, are there gory parts, or is it more?
there are a couple of gory scenes in it. But honestly, we don't. Uh, Human beings are the worst part of the thing. Just that is kind of like similar to The Walking Dead,
Mm-hmm.
but because the monsters are there are a couple of scenes where there's a lot of them, but for the most part, you may get one or two here or there, and it's really kind of about it.
Jump
So,
scares?
Jump scares?
um, I don't think so. Of course, I've gotten to the point I'm just like, there's gonna be a jump scare here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Nobody
but
else-
not really. There are times that I was expecting a jump scare and it never happened. I'm just like, oh, okay. So,
Because I want to watch it, but I don't want to. Because I try. I think I got like 15 minutes into Walking Dead. I'm like, absolutely not, and had to shut it
no,
off.
it is not on the same level of Walking Dead for gore stuff. So, what's funny is they did specifically incorporate some of the gameplay in the from the game into the show. So, like, there's a part where they need to get into this other room and there's a hole in the wall and he's like, I can't fit. I need you to go in there and go unlock the door for me. So of course you're like, well, what if there's gonna be a monster in there or whatever? And there's another part later on in the series where he's like, okay, I can't get up there. I'm gonna hoist you up and then I need you to throw the ladder down. Straight from the game, from what
Oh,
I understand. But even when you watch it, you're just like, this seems like a video game moment. And it is. And it's like, and it doesn't feel awkward. It's not jarring. It just flows. It's just like y'all did a really good job writing this show. And supposedly, I think we're not getting another season for another year. They're going to take their time and do it right. And I'm like, you know what? As much as I'm not going to miss not having it there to watch on Sunday nights, I'm perfectly okay because I'd rather it be done right the entire way than to be rushed. So.
Yep.
All right, so that's what we've been watching. Should we move on to what we've been listening to?
yay.
Chris, what have you been listening to?
So I started listening to podcasts. I haven't listened to anything up until recently because I went through all of our audio logs and I didn't have anything to listen to. I go on like an hour walk every day. So I just put on my headphones and go. And yes, I started listening to podcasts. I've been listening to Armchair Expert with Dr. Shepard, which is interesting. And then an acquaintance of ours, she does a podcast called Recovering from Everything. She's a former addict, and she now works with addicts in recovery. But it's fucking hilarious. She's so raw and real. It's just funny. And then I've been listening to one called Not for Everyone. It's by this, it's a YouTuber and her friend. I watch her YouTubers. Anyways, it's funny. And it's been really helpful just listening to other women talk about life and stuff. So that's cool. And then I just finished Zephyr's Call, which is the second book in the Ravenwood series by Nathan Lowell.
So, and yeah, This is the one that I
He was
recommend.
gonna.
I recommended the first one and then switched it.
Yeah, because
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I was like, I can't really
I
recommend
didn't like
it.
it. But the second book, she actually is on a ship, like on a boat.
Mhm.
Oh my God. It's just slot in Ishmael, same thing. Like he definitely has his things that he really likes to write about. He's really good at it. He also really likes talking about food.
Oh
Super
yeah.
good. But I really, really like it. I love this main character. Her name's Tanith. I just freaking love her. She's so cool and badass. So yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, you been listening to anything?
Earthside, finished it up.
So did
Nice.
Quinn.
And then A Darker Shade of Magic,
Mm-hmm.
Woody's pick.
Yep.
So I finished that one up. And then there's a podcast, I think I've mentioned it before, but I've been listening to it some more. It's really good. Todd Conklin is the host and the maker of it. It's called the Pre-Accident Investigation Podcast. It's all about safety and kind of like blame culture at work in different work locations, and how to kind of get out of the blame culture and actually start learning from your employees and how to see the benefits of these things and basically embracing failure so that you can learn from it and put a better process in.
Nice.
So it's actually pretty cool. So yeah, I've been listening to that.
Cool. The only thing, I mean, yeah, I've got a whole host of podcasts that I listen to, and I've gone back and re-listened to a couple of different books. I'm actually listening to Earthside for the second time. I actually just finished Outland again, so I'm doing them back to back. But another book, I can't remember. I know Sean has read them. Ray, have you read any of Daniel Suarez?
Sorry.
Demon or Freedom TM or any of that stuff. If not, it needs to be. I will eventually get to it, recommending it on the show. Anyway, he had a book out called Delta V, and it's about a underwater cave diver who gets drafted, invited along to be part of this mission to build this space station, and then eventually send a ship into space to start setting up mining of asteroids by this billionaire who's a royal piece of work, and everything goes to shit. And the book ends okay. Um, his books tend to wrap up really well, except for the one of my favorite books of his, which wraps up and it's kind of okay, but it leaves a bunch of stuff open, kind of like this one did. And I didn't realize that there was a sequel coming out. Well, sure enough, the sequel came out, and this one's called Critical Mass. And it's turned my opinion around of the first book. What's funny was I told everyone, I said at lunchtime during the week I'm going to start going back and reviewing all of the, not just putting in the stars. I'm actually going to do a quick review of all the books on Audible that I've read, and I'm going back from newest to oldest. But yeah, my opinion of that first book has been turned around now that I know there's a sequel and I know that it's going to be a happier wrap up. Um, I have a better outlook for that first book, but not just that. This book series, it's only two in the series, is much like one of my all-time favorite book series, and he wrote it. The second book, in both of these books, it's like he sets up a technology that disrupts the world. And in some cases, you think, well, this is sending the world into just absolute chaos and it's going to destroy, civilization, blah, blah, blah. And in the second book, in both of these second books in the series, he ends up showing how, well, yes, it disrupts how things are, but we could actually use that disruption as a way to not only improve things, but maybe even save this damn planet. And the first one was more so looking at um, economies and ecologies. This one is literally looking at what if we come in with like a new finance system and make it so that the only way you can buy in is to like pull carbon out of the atmosphere. So it doesn't matter. And at this point, like people are able, like even small businesses and individuals are able to buy these things and basically imagine Bitcoin, but instead of like eating up a bunch of power, it's doing it up in the atmosphere where there's basically free power. So we're not worrying about that. And the only way you can buy in is to prove that you're doing something good here. And it's just like, that's a fantastic idea. And there's a lot of similarities between the two series, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, like I said, it will be a recommendation eventually.
I have downloaded it. I think I downloaded it at one point when it was either free or,
Hmm.
but I haven't listened to it yet. So
Okay, yeah, like I said, it will definitely be a pick of mine sometime. So,
okay.
but yeah, so that's what I've been listening to, and I actually really enjoyed it. So, um, let's talk about what we've been thinking about, Chris.
So
I know this one. So you keep talking. I gotta go get something for my thinking of. So
okay.
yeah,
Just to let him out to go pee.
sure.
Yeah, the dog needs to go pee. So this year I found myself thinking a lot about friendship, specifically making friends as an adult, as
Mhm.
I always had real trouble making friends and maintaining those relationships. It's like my whole life story. It's been really hard for me to do that. A lot of the time I'm confused by people in friendships. It's it took me a very long time to find my people,
Hmm.
and now my people live in a different country and time zone, and for that. So I was listening to a podcast and Glennon Doyle's podcast, and she had on this doctor. Her name's Dr. Marissa G. Franco, and she wrote a book called Platonic about how to make and keep friendships as an adult. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm getting that.
Is there
And
an audio version of that? I might check into that one anyway.
yeah, and the author narrates it herself. She she just gets into the science of friendship, gets into the science of relationships, different types of attachment styles. So it for me when I was listening to it, I'm like, this isn't just a book about friendships. This is a book about relationships. Anybody having any kind of relationships as an adult needs to listen to this book because so much of being a human is just sort of wanting connection, but a lot of us don't really know how to do it in a meaningful way to make it last and to make it, something that, you hold deal. And because there is a lot of science to back up that having healthy connections, it has so many health benefits that those who are lonely has the same effect on the body as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's what loneliness does to people,
Wow.
physical levels. So I'm like, okay, well, I have a kick-ass husband. I have friends. It's a little different because you're in a computer. You're not here. So so it's like, okay, you're here. You're here. Hello.
Yes.
And I have people in my life that are friends, but it's like I'm missing that physical proximity friendships, right?
Hmm.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try and figure this out. But what I discovered is that, and listening to my friend acquaintance Kinga's podcast about how her friends have ruined her for romantic relationships. And when I was listening to that, I'm like, he's ruined me for friendship. Because we've grown up together, we are literally each other's best friends because we've grown up together.
Hmm.
And because we have such a great friendship, and the bonus is that it's romantic. I don't find that I need that outside of this relationship.
Hmm.
So whether that's healthy or not, I don't know, but that's what it is. And it just been the older I get, and the more therapy that I've been in, the more I learn about myself, the more I'm like, this is wonderful and I'm so happy to have this, but I probably should have a friend outside of him that lives near me. Because what's happened during COVID is I've kind of made the people who live here my whole social circle.
Hmm.
And that's not necessarily a good thing. So you shouldn't really be friends with your kids when they live in your house and they're not full adults. So yeah, so I'm on a mission to try to figure out this friendship thing and what it and how I do it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, I completely understand because I had a decent little. I mean, I have friends that are like, my Ghostbuster group, and I
Yeah.
see them once a month, which is cool. Usually, for a couple hours, but I don't see all of them every time because it's unlike the 501st where like, hey, if you can make it, great.
Mhm.
But we understand everyone's got a life, everyone's got a job. If you can't dress up like a Ghostbuster this weekend, I understand. But I had Lainey and Joseph and Jennifer, and Jennifer's gonna be leaving again, and Lainey and Joseph are not here, and it's just. So I understand where you're coming from. It's like, yeah, I guess I could go look for other people, but technically, I kind of already have some people in Austin, which is like an hour away. So
Yeah.
it's just weird.
It's
Yep.
so weird
Uh,
being an adult and making friends, and you don't realize that a lot of your friendships when you were a kid was just forced proximity. You all
yeah,
went to school together, and it just sort of set it all up for you. You didn't have to do any work, and it was that. And then I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and then you go to college, and it's for me it was the same thing because I had the same intense workload as I did in high school as I did in college. So I was
mhm,
spending 40 hours a week with these people. So how do you not become friends with them?
yeah.
And then you get out and you're like, oh no, I have no friends. Oh, everywhere else. And then we got pregnant, really quickly after that. And then I had mom friends, and it was just like,
No,
but we
sad.
all met at mom group. And so it was, again, kind of like a forced proximity. And then kids get older, people go back to jobs. And then I joined a gym, and then the gym people came my forced proximity again. So I'm like, okay, we gotta stop with the forced proximity. Gotta stop doing that. I think you guys are the only friends that I've made where it wasn't a forced proximity situation. It was just one of those weird, random, wonderful things that happens in life.
Yep.
And it's wonderful, but it's just like, of course, you find with people and they live in a freaking different country. Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Jerk.
Yeah.
I know.
So I feel like, and if it doesn't happen, if I don't make new friends, that's okay. At least I'll have information to better the relationships
Yeah.
that I already have.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm starting with first, and then branching out. I also have a lot of social anxiety, so baby steps.
Gotcha. Yep. Nice. Yeah, I had to overcome a bunch of my social anxiety when I became a Ghostbuster. So
Yeah, oh, I
it,
bet.
it's something about putting on that suit, and I've had this conversation with Lainey as well. It's like I'm like, yeah, like if you told me, hey, I need you to go up and speak to a bunch of people, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I can do that. But if I've got the suit, I'm like, oh, where's Mike? So it's just I get you, I get you. So, Ray, what you been thinking about?
Did you
So,
feed him?
yes.
You didn't let him out?
No, because he wanted food. He wouldn't do one.
Oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
I already fed him 2 times a day. You're a glutton.
Adidas was having a sale, and it was like 40% off their shoes that were already discounted. So sale's still on if you want to go that way route. And I came across a pair of shoes that I was like, hell yeah, I need to get those. These are
Okay.
funky. I'm like, these are really interesting. I need to know more about these. These are 3D printed.
I was gonna say that looks like a 3D print.
So what's really interesting, so Adam Savage, so after I bought the shoes and I was like, I got to learn more about these because they're about trying to reduce the amount of waste in the world.
Hmm.
And so I went on and I found a thing from um, Adam Savage Tested, and they
Hmm.
actually went to the factory where they're making these. And what they figured out was they were able to use UV light to shape the uh, the actual spring. Essentially, these are all a bunch of little springs.
Hmm.
So they were able to shape the spring using the UV, but it didn't have as much structure as they wanted. So in the resin, they mixed in a heat component that as well. So they would shape it first, right? Get the actual shaping with the UV light, then spin the crap out of it to retrieve all of the excess resin.
Hmm.
Instead of using alcohol and all the other stuff, they just spin it.
Interesting.
And then they have a sled basically that they put it on to tip the toe up. And then they bake it, and after it's baked, it stays in the shape because the extra chemical that they put in the resin is heat activated.
Hmm.
And then you could really see Adam get excited because he's like, man, you could have a secondary component in there that heats at an even higher level. So you shape it one way first, bake it, and then it holds that shape. You shape it again, and it goes into a new shape after that secondary bake. And anyway, so it's been getting me thinking about trying to better use 3D technology in our work and how we can incorporate it and try and how do I sell that as a benefit to the company as well as to anybody else that would listen to me. So 3D printing definitely back on my radar. The manufacturing process, they've been able to make an entire set of shoes from 3D printing, which is actually reducing the amount of waste. And yeah, it was pretty cool that they've done it. Very comfortable. I can walk
Super
around
squishy.
it. They're nice and squishy. They feel like a normal shoe, but so the way that the spring works is when it compresses, it pushes you forward a bit too. So when you're releasing, you're already in that momentum to go forward.
Oh, that's interesting.
So what they're looking at next is to do side to side for say tennis shoes.
Mm-hmm.
So your tennis shoes is if you compress one way,
okay,
bounce back the way you need it. So they may actually revolutionize the way that they're printing all these shoes and doing all that stuff too, which is the whole point. So the company that it's called Carbon, the company that's actually doing the printing for Adidas. But good on Adidas for trying this out. And I mean, it's a risk, right? Always a risk for all these new things, but it's pretty cool that they were able to do it. So I'll send you the link, or if you go to Untested, the YouTube site, they have I think it was about 4 months ago.
Okay. I vaguely remember watching it. Like it's kind of ringing a bell. So
yeah. Anyway,
but, because when you pulled up the show, I was like, man, that looks 3D printed. Like, that just has the look of something that's been.
Oh yeah. So it fascinated me. At first, I was like, do I want something like that? And then it grew on me, and the more I got into like the technology of it, I'm in. So
nice,
super cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, the cats are having a battle outside here. What I've been thinking about. So I don't know if I announced it on this show, but back in the fall. Well, let me start off. Let me start way back. Back in 1986, 86. I was a huge fan of Transformers, and growing up, I had two heroes. One of them was my grandfather, and the other one was Optimus Prime. And what's funny is you watch, if you've ever watched like the Toys That Made Us, or any of those other about the toy series that came out and stuff in the 80s. It's very well known that they dropped a lot of the regulation on advertising to children, and so the toy companies, Hasbro being one of the first ones that really kind of revolutionized it, was, hey, not only are we going to have a toy series, but we're going to have a cartoon that goes along with it, and it's basically going to be a 30-minute ad for these toys. And so yeah, that was kind of like the idea. What's funny is I've seen one documentary where they talked to some of the writers of the second series of Transformers, and they're like, yeah, we thought, while we're writing these series anyway, what if we actually kind of talk about some more deeper stuff? So like, there's an episode where like a couple of the Decepticons go to a planet, and this civilization worships one of them as a god. And they actually kind of, touch on that a little bit. I'm like, this is a cartoon for kids in the 80s. But anyway, so whenever they released the movie, they were like, oh, hey, well, we've got a whole new batch of Transformers. We basically need to get rid of the first one so that, I guess kill them off, and then we can start selling the new ones. And that was a horrible mistake. But yeah, within just a year or so, I watched my grandfather die of cancer, and then I watched Optimus Prime die on the big screen.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, those have always kind of been tied together. I understand the mental relationship there. As an adult, I'm like, no, these are two different things. But anyway. Mm-hmm. So anyway, Peter Cullen has been the voice of Optimus Prime since the 80s. There's been just a couple of series, including, unfortunately, that Netflix series that came out just a few years ago that was really good. where he was not the voice of Optimus Prime. But anyway, so he's been the voice of Optimus Prime forever. He's also the voice of Eeyore. And when you hear that and you go, wait, what? And then you look and you kind of listen to it, you're like, yeah, no, that's definitely the same guy. Um, anyway, Peter Cullen has, if you watch any interviews with him, he talks about how he came up with the voice of Optimus Prime. His older brother, who he idolized, was a soldier. And he tells him, he's like, well, what are you doing today, Peter? He's like, well, I'm going to, go. I've got an acting job. I'm going. I'm going to go audition for the part of a truck, a talking truck. And he told him, he's like very seriously. He told me, he's like, well, what do you mean a truck? He's like, well, it turns into a robot, and he's supposed to be a hero. And his brother tells him, well, if you're going to be a hero, be a hero. Like, don't shortchange this. Like, be someone that people can look up to. And so he took that to heart. Anyway, so I got the chance in the fall. Um, we've unfortunately lost several celebrities, some of which I would love to have met, and just for whatever reason didn't ever get around to, didn't have the money, whatever. And Peter Cullen has been like number one on my list, and I'm like, you know what? The man's getting in his 80s. I'm gonna meet the man next, whatever, because things got messed up with COVID. I'm like, wherever he's going, I'm gonna be there. And sure enough, he was going to be at the Vegas Toy Show. So I told Christy, I was like, hey, could I go to this thing? And she's like, well, yeah, why don't we make it a weekend? So she ended up going with me, and Lainey ended up joining us, and so did their friend Gomez. And so anyway, I was like, it was kind of this, oh, well, this thing's happening in the future. And then all of a sudden, it like was sneaking up on me. I'm just like, oh my God, it's like this coming weekend. So I was super excited. So the boys stayed with my mom, and we flew out to Vegas. And all day Saturday, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this toy show. I've got a VIP pass. The signing and the pictures and stuff aren't until Sunday. So I'm gonna go check out this toy show, and I'm thinking, okay, this is Las Vegas, like this is a big city, big flashy city. And so I go to the hotel where this thing is happening, and I am not impressed. Number one, it's not very big, and it's actually like three conventions in one. It's the diecast something convention or whatever. And most of the booths that were there were selling like Hot Wheels and Matchbox stuff. Like there was not a lot of other toy stuff. Like I'm thinking I'm going to a toy convention. I'm going to see some really cool stuff. And there was not a lot of cool stuff to see. Like there was definitely some older Star Wars toys, but I'm just like, I'm not in the market to pay, $400 for this in the box or whatever. So, it's interesting to look at, but it's not what I'm, there for. So I was kind of nervous. I was like, did I get duped into this? Like, tomorrow am I literally going to show up and it's going to be like, hi, picture, and then move on? Like, I'm going to be a little heartbroken. So anyway, Christy was asking me the rest of the day. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just, tomorrow's my day. So whatever y'all want to do, we'll go do, in Vegas or whatever." So we walked around and did some stuff. And that night I didn't sleep well. My stomach was messing with me. I'm just like, this is not going to work out well. So I got up the next morning. I decided I was going to bring the man one of the matrices that I make. Like I've made, as of right now, it's the last run I'm doing. And I was like, I'm going to give him to sign one. I'm going to take the man one. So I go to the convention and I'm wearing one of them, and I was a freaking rock star there. Which by the way, so I get there and they're like, okay, well, they're going to start lining up for pictures over here. And originally it was Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. Frank Welker is the one who played Megatron in the original series, but you also know him as he was Ray Stantz. God, he's played so many, like Frank Welker's a freaking god when it comes to like, especially 80s cartoons. And unfortunately, Frank Welker wasn't able to show up. So instead, they got Ron Perlman. The reason they got Ron Perlman is because in the new Transformers movie that's coming out here pretty quick, he's a voice in the new movie. He's Optimus Primal. And I'm like, okay. So the first thing is, all right, well, you're going to line up over here, and this is going to be for the picture with Ron Perlman. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm standing there, and a little bit before that, I noticed a lot of the toy vendors started putting out Transformers, and I'm just like, okay, this feels a little bit more like a toy convention now instead of just a Hot Wheels thing. But a lot of it was still stuff like I could have found at Target and stuff. I'm like, it was just, I think I need to go find a real big toy convention to kind of get the fix that I was hoping for. Anyway, so standing in line, and I'm feeling much better about it because I'm surrounded by my people. There are people, I overhear people talking about how, man, I wanted to meet this man since I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. There's this shorter black lady in line, and she is giggling. She is so happy and so excited to meet Peter Cullen. Like she's just like losing her shit, and everyone around her is just like happy to see her so happy and everything. Incidentally, there were several people that had him, but the one guy in particular had out his Robosen transforming Optimus Prime, the one that's like $700, $800. Oh my God. It's like this tall. It's like a foot and a half tall. And he takes it out, and you can do stuff with your phone on it, but literally it makes the sound, and it transforms itself, and it has lights, and it drives, and you can do things with your phone. So at one point it gets down and starts doing push-ups, and then it starts doing sit up crunches or whatever. It's hilarious to see what this thing can do. And like I told Christy, I'm like, oh my God, like it would be stupid because I'd have to have the trailer too. I'm like, I cannot spend $2,000 on a toy. That's
No.
ridiculous. But oh my God, this is the coolest toy fucking ever. Anyway, so got up, met Ron Perlman real quick, and they're like, all right, we'll go through, get your picture, go out, get back in line. The next picture will be both of them, and then the final picture will be just Peter Cullen. And then you'll go downstairs, and that'll be where the signing is. So anyway, met Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman is not as tall as I thought. Like I'm 5'8", and he maybe has an inch on me, if that.
Really?
He's not because you see him as Hellboy, and you're like,
He's huge.
fucking huge.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
You getting your picture? Yeah. He's getting his picture.
Sorry for anyone who listens to this show audio-wise. You won't be able to see this. Maybe you'll need to download or go check out the video version on YouTube. But yeah, that's me and Ron Perlman. And like I said, he's not that much taller than I am.
Oh, I thought he was taller.
I thought he was too. But no, he was super chill. I've heard some things where supposedly there's been some conventions where he's been a little gruff or whatever, but he was nice. So anyway, second picture. I don't have that picture. That's actually at my other one at work. Well, I get in there, and of course I'm wearing this Matrix, and Peter Cullen just kind of smiles, and it's just like, oh, that's so awesome. And anyway, take a picture with both of them, and then go back through one more time. And it's funny, I can't remember if it was the second time around. I think it was the second time around. I got in line. Everyone kind of lined up a different way the second time. And I look over, and there's a guy next to me, and in his box of things that he's wanting to get signed is one of my Matrixes. And I said, oh, cool, you have one of my Matrixes. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm the one that makes those, and I used to sell them on Etsy or whatever. And he's just like, really? And I'm like, yeah, that's, whatever. So anyway, he's like, oh man, that is so cool, whatever, because he saw mine that was on my chain. Anyway, so just kind of talking to some different people. It was so much fun. Like I was getting so hype or whatever, and then got to meet just Peter Cullen as well. And when I walked in, I asked him if he could hold the Matrix with me, and he's a little dude. He's not a big guy. Yeah.
Remember when you posted those? I'm like, he is a tiny man.
He's a little guy. But so sweet. Like I heard so many other people talking about like how nice and energetic and stuff he was. And so did the pictures. I'm shaking at this point. And I'm like, all right, we still get to go do the autograph. So we go downstairs, and another thing was the day before, it was like, man, it seems like they don't really, there's some organizational stuff going on here that's kind of out of whack. Well, sure enough, we start lining up, and they're like, oh no, well, everyone just lined up. We're like, what if we're VIPs? And they're like, no, everyone just line up. And then they come back, oh no, all the VIPs get to move to the front. We're like, well, I hope we get to move to the front. Yeah. But anyway, so I'm standing in line. We're waiting there for 30 minutes or so, which was fine because, like I said, we're all waiting, and everyone, and everything else or whatever. Just talking with some different people from wherever, and then we get to line up, and here they come. Here comes Peter Cullen and Ron Perlman, and they're like, all right, well, have out the thing you want to have signed, blah blah blah. So I get up there, and I have two things. I have an Optimus Prime that's over there that I want him signed. That I have the Matrix, and I put the Matrix. I take the Matrix off, and I turn it or whatever, and get up there and kind of move over. And he starts signing, and I said, Mr. Cullen, I'm the one who actually makes these. And he looks up at me, and goes, really? I said, yes, sir. I'm the one that sells and makes these. And I said, and I would like you to have one. And I kept it in the foam because I like carved out all this foam because I was like, I want to make sure the man can get it home and get it in one piece. So I handed it to him, and he starts to get choked up. And I said, I wanted you to have this, to say thank you for being a hero. Optimus Prime taught me what the words duty and honor are, and I try to live by those every day. And he really starts to get choked up, and then he shakes my hand, and get the Matrix back, and he signs my thing or whatever. And at this point, I'm just like fucking shaking. But like one of the guys that's working the event was like, "You did good, dude. Like, good job on you." Talking with some different people. I actually met a lady. Um, she has a like 2018 big GMC truck, and she's got it skinned to look like Optimus Prime. I sold her Matrix this last weekend and got to talk to her. She's like, yeah, she said, when we got up there, we were a little further in line, and apparently one of the people was like, Mr. Cullen, you kind of need to hurry this up. There's still a long line. And he's just like, no, these people are here to meet me, and I'm going to take my time. I'm just like, thank you for being such a good person.
Yeah, he gets.
But yeah, so what I've been thinking about the whole event and meeting him, and how literally this has been a bucket list thing. Like I don't know if I've ever like sat down and really defined out a bucket list of things I definitely want to get done. I just know there are some things that I really would like to get done, and this was one of them. Like this is maybe pretty close to the top. So in the post that I wrote about this, when I posted the pictures and everything, I said, there's a saying, "Don't meet your heroes," and I'm like, no, it's make sure the people you choose to be a hero are worth it. And he's definitely, and it, not that I would care one way or the other, but it was reassuring to see all these people from all walks of life. There were, you know, older white guys like me, and like I said, there was this short black lady, and this one black dude behind me. We were talking about cosplay and stuff because I told him I was, in the Ghostbusters or whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I do some cosplay," and pulls out, and he's got this fantastic Black Panther cosplay he did. So we're like talking about, I was like, well, did you make it? Blah, blah. Anyway, but seeing all these people from all walks of life that feel the same way I do, and it was nice. It was fantastic. So yeah.
That's very cool.
Let's go ahead and jump into real quick what we've been doing. So because we're almost coming up on an hour. So what have you been up to, Chris?
So sometimes I get bored and I rearrange the house. So I decided.
Don't do that when he's drinking.
Hey, that's what I've been doing too.
So I decided that we don't use our living room. 6 years of living in a tiny cottage has sort of gotten us out of the habit of eating at a table. We just eat around our coffee table, and we don't use our dining room, so it's just sitting empty. So I decided, let's make it into a sitting room with a coffee bar. That's what I did.
Nice.
The table's still there, but the coffee bar's sort of in transition. Quinn's room's not done either. So
things are on hold,
which is fine. It's totally fine. But it's just like, I got bored and was just like, well, we have kind of talked about it, so let's just do it. So we did.
What's funny, it was about the time y'all started it. I know I did a post on Instagram where it was this woman that was just like, yeah, we never use our dining room, so we turned it into like a huge pantry. And I'm just like, that totally makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Eugene.
No, I'd seen that post before, but we had talked about, because you wanted to make it your art and music room, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I wanted a grand piano and everything.
He keeps talking about where the grand piano's going to go. So,
just a baby grand.
Baby grand.
It's not like we don't live in like a 1,600 square foot house, but yeah. Anyways, that's what I get bored and I get ideas, and that's what happens.
I would have had to take the window to get it out, but that's fine.
But no, it looks fantastic. I totally get that. I mean, like the closest thing for me and Christy would be like anytime we've ever looked at a house, we're like, well, you can use this as a dining room. We're just like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
That's not a selling feature. Yeah, no.
So, because like we eat around our big table with the boys most nights. Friday night, sometimes maybe Christy and I will be like, no, y'all can watch something. We're going to watch something in the living room or whatever. I fully expect as they get older, we're probably going to just keep moving further and further into the living room and just eating in there, watching TV or whatever. So
it's fun because we pick a show and we all eat around.
Yeah.
And then the kids do their own thing. But yeah,
our family time.
It's our family time.
Yeah, exactly. So, Ray, what you been up to?
So, school.
Still school.
Still going on, but exciting. I finished it today. I am done my quizzes. I finished the last quiz today. Done that part of it. So, which is a few days early, which is good. And the next part doesn't It's not going to happen until Tuesday that we get the feedback from the teacher on our project. So I've got a couple of days here. I'm going to really take the time to relax and do stuff that we want to do. No projects, nothing. That's just going to be.
Are you telling me there's no projects? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
It's both of us. So the most I'll do is like maybe some of the painting that I've been thinking about, or Diablo 4 has been in the beta test. So trying to do some of that kind of stuff. But yeah, so this is going to be kind of a chill time. It's been almost 3 months of going at this thing for a while. So yeah, it'll be nice to kind of take a step back and just do some stuff that I enjoy again.
Nice.
No, not that I'm not enjoying the course. There's a lot of interesting stuff. But
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a difference between enjoying a course and playing Diablo 4. So
Yes. So yeah.
I very similar. I had written down. So this last week was our spring break, and Christy went to go visit her grandfather, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna be here. Why don't I go ahead and start working on separating the boys into their own rooms? And she was a little nervous about it at first, but I particularly wanted to do it while she was gone because the heavy lifting stuff I could get done without her. Didn't really need her help on that. I mean, it would have been helpful to have her here, but I could definitely do it by myself. But also, the house could look like an absolute disaster at night, and I could still go to bed and sleep perfectly fine. She doesn't really have that ability. Um, but yeah, so we have the boys separated. The only thing left to do is there's some artwork stuff we want to do just because Alex has a lot of bare walls in his room, and there's a particular wall that Nick needs to have something covered. So a couple years ago, he ended up moving into what was our guest room. We had a little TV, and I installed one of those boxes that lets you like drop the power and everything down into the wall so that it's not running up the wall or whatever. And I did a really good job with it. And I was like, I don't want to take it back out because it'd be like him having to look up constantly to do his games and stuff. So his TV is actually looking straight in front of him. So I'm like, let's just get some kind of artwork and just cover it, because when we sell the house, it will actually be a benefit to have it there. So, but yeah, we did all that. Unfortunately, I worked on that on and off. Well, like the first 4 or 5 days, it was like 12-hour days of working on that. Like it was a lot of work. Because I had to completely paint one of the rooms. We did not have touch-up paint for that room anymore, and I'm just like, we were going to paint it anyway. We're going to have everything out of it. I might as well do it. It did take me all day to do it. But that being said, I learned a lot from the guy that we hired to paint the house. Like, I mean, I had a drop cloth down, and yeah, it did save me a couple of little drips here and there. But yeah, taking the time to do all of the cutting first around everything, and then just taking the roller and I was like, it's like, oh man, it's already 7 o'clock. I'm still doing cutting stuff. But then once you get to the roller stuff, like it
goes
done.
like
real quick.
Yeah.
So, and luckily, I mean, there are some places that I probably could have used a second coat just because you can kind of all of our walls are textured. I might have could used a second coat on just some little areas, but they're not bad. But yeah, it went really fast. And then, like I said, after that was like putting together their new beds and getting all that stuff taken care of. But yeah, so they're in their own rooms. And the last day or so, I've actually got to work in my office. My closet has been thoroughly cleaned out, which I've been meaning to do for, to be honest, years. But yeah, I now have some empty shelves behind me, and I'm gonna get to kind of spread out some of my stuff. And um, it's been so nice getting Nick out of this office because I'm tired of coming in here and finding Coke cans or chip wrappers or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, so that's what I've been working on, and like I said, hopefully, I don't think I'll finish it tonight, but maybe tomorrow night I'll get it finished, and then this weekend, I've got some more stuff I need to do, but I may be playing some Diablo. I don't know. We'll see. So yeah.
Do that.
So I'm up to 230 now with Sean's help. So
It's okay.
I'm still looking for some I'm still looking for some uh, um, armor and stuff pieces to kind of finish the armor build that I'm doing.
Yep.
Unfortunately, though, I'm missing like one or two little things to keep going through on the what's it called? But
The altar, yeah.
The altar, yeah. So I completely forgot about it until one of y'all brought it up the other day. I was like, oh yeah, I wonder if I should have been unlocking some abilities that would like have been helping me out a lot. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I think I've got to find some angel skin and then I can move on. So
Okay, well,
anyway, we will see. So anyway, well, that is our show for the month, ladies and gentlemen. If you would please give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, Google, Stitcher, wherever you listen to the show. You can find us on epicallygeeky.com, where you can find the other shows we do, including the Epically Geeky Show, the Marginally Geeky Show, and the Sustainably Geeky Show. You can find us on social media. We're not very active, but it's at Epically Geeky as well. And you can also watch the show on YouTube at Epically Geeky. Where can we find you online, Ray?
The Reluctant Yeti, when I start posting again on Instagram, it's going to be a little while yet, but there'll be some exciting stuff when we go down to Florida. You'll probably see some pictures there. So yeah.
Nice. Chris?
All the shows you mentioned, and on Instagram at Moody Midlife.
And as for me, you can follow my individual wacky adventure online at Optimus Jane on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. For everyone on the site, have a good night.